400 cases of people who wandered into the wilderness but never came back. Accounts of children, people
was a coyote,
vanishing,
dog, or
seemingly
else.
swallowed up by the many endless forests across America, or even later found in ways that defy logic.
An animal.
Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man.
She described the way that the creature moved would not be unnatural.
You've had problems in the neighborhood
It looked
before?
like it was
Yeah, my dog was
uncomfortable
killed here
in
just
its own
recently.
feet.
I don't know what it was. So whatever it was that was standing out there. I'm out here
It
looking
looked
through the
like
window
a
now and I don't
vehicle.
see anything.
She
I don't want to go
believed
outside.
that what she was looking at
Jesus
was
Christ,
pure
you better...
evil.
Sure.
Tia,
Hello?
get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9".
Do you see
The
him now,
cases of
sir?
about
Yes, I'm looking
100
right
people,
at him.
at least, who claim that they've been abducted
hang
by
on.
aliens.
He's
One
right.
of Dr.
Is
Matt's
he in your
patients,
yard,
Linda,
sir?
Yeah,
who
he's
says
gone.
she
He's
has been
big.
Faded out,
abducted
like
since childhood.
reality. I was just
what I remember
being brought up this
my
tunnel of
wall
light,
came
right?
from being
Out
around my
of
bed.
this tunnel light,
I
just
ran between
like
them
noticed
and ran
parts
out
of my
of the
life
room
that
into
wouldn't
my
even
mother's
occur to me to
room
remember.
hide
Then I
from
knew that I
And
wasn't
I
in
never
my
told
body,
anybody
that I
about
was
that, and I just buried
close to
it
death.
in the back
And
of
so
my
then I
mind.
came to the
Me
end
and
of
my
this
brother,
tunnel
we never
and noticed there
spoke about
was
it.
a man that first
I
started to
noticed
me at first as
a
a place
mist or a fog
and I
kind
also
of moving. The action, the motion caught my eye. It actually started taking shape, taking form. The idea of the Grim Reaper went through my head, cloaked figure. And as I was watching, it kept becoming more and more and more distinct to me that this was actually something with some type of presence. Like it knew I was there. And as I was watching it, it turned and looked directly at me. I felt like whatever this was angry at me. I wasn't welcome. It wanted me out. I had been face to face with a ghost or a demon, a spirit. I'm not really sure what. But this feeling of terror actually was going through me. And I really felt more that it was demonic. It was something very evil.
Hey guys, welcome to Real Supernatural Encounters. So today I am going to be reading a couple of my emails that were actually sent to me probably about January or February. And these are stories that are sent from my cousin. My whole family has a lot of past hauntings throughout our lives, and I don't know why, but these are going to be her stories. If you guys are ready, let's get to it. All right. So this is from our cousin, Christina Knight. And the title of this is Haunted House 1. And this is the first house where she experienced all her paranormal stuff. And the next email, we'll read the second one. When I met my now husband, I noticed his 900 SF home gave me strange vibes to my soul as soon as I walked through the door for the very first time. But I didn't notice anything noticeably out of the ordinary. It wasn't until the first night that I stayed the night with him while we were dating. I felt like something was staring at me while I was sleeping, and I felt like it was coming from his closet. It was an older style accordion closet doors from the 1950s. The house was built in the 1950s, so it fit the description, but I couldn't shake the feeling. One night, I woke up to my husband standing in front of the closet door, staring at me in a deep trance. It startled me. I just laid there staring back at him and saying his name in sort of a whisper. He didn't even blink once, not even one bodily twitch. I got up and I shook him and I started speaking louder and louder, trying to get him out of this trance. I eventually panicked and slapped him, and he finally started blinking really fast. He was in confusion, wondering why he was standing in front of the closet at the foot of the bed. Fast forward a couple of months. He decided to update the house a little bit, taking out the carpet, staining the floors, and painting. Strange activities started picking up. When we were sleeping in the bedroom, the door handle would jiggle and the door eventually would open. You could hear someone running up and down the basement stairs, while at the same time hearing keys jingle as if they were hanging off someone's belt loop. One day we were watching TV and the attic doorway had a piece of plywood covering it. And just like that, it just sucked itself right up into the attic, exposing the attic manhole. Another night, we were laying in bed, and we both heard a deep voice yell, "Hey!" right between us, as if something was laying in bed with us. We sat up at the same time, and then all of a sudden, All the window shades on the first floor of the house fell and smacked so loud onto the hardwood floors. At this time, my daughter was 3 years old. She constantly complained about a half wolf, half lady that bothered her when she was sleeping, which she rightfully named it Princess Wolf. She constantly woke up with night terrors and would scream in horror. Sometimes it would take up to 5 to 10 minutes to completely wake her up from these terrors. It got to the point she had circles under her eyes and was getting only about 2 hours of sleep at night. She was eventually put on sleep aids to her pediatrician. After a month on these drugs, things got back to normal for her, and we were able to take her off of them. Princess Wolf was never mentioned again. There were strange things going on for about 4 more years, but we had become so used to the activity. I seen this girl constantly going back and forth from the bathroom to my daughter's room to our room and then back to the bathroom. I'm actually assuming it's a girl. She was in a black shadow figure and her head would just reach the height of a doorknob. Her hair looked like it was in a low pigtails and would have wave behind her as she was running. Nobody else in the house saw her, so I just kept it to myself. I didn't really mention it. She didn't give me bad vibes though, so it didn't affect me too much. Now, in 2016, I became pregnant with my third child. I just got done with my 14-week ultrasound and checkup. Later that night, when I went to bed, I woke up to a long, black fingered hand reaching around my stomach. I sat up and I saw a frail-like creature that was black and skin like cooling lava with orange craters and veins shining through like the light through the rock-like black skin. I jumped out of bed and I rebuked this thing in Jesus' name to leave my house. I learned this protection method from my very religious grandma. It replied with, "He is gone. He is now," with the most bone-chilling laugh, and then backed up slowly and disappeared. My room smelled like burning flesh and car oil for about 3 weeks after that. I got a phone call the next day from my friend, and she told me that she was supposed to say to me, "He is fine. I got to him first." Neither one of us knew what these words meant at that time. I went to church and I got holy oil and blessed every door and walkway in my house. And I also got prayer cloth and put them in every pillowcase and under every mattress after that. Fast forward to 4 weeks. I'm 18 weeks pregnant at this point. I start having contractions. My husband takes me to the hospital to only find out that my baby had died 4 weeks prior. The incident with the black thing that tried to reach into my stomach. But hopefully the words my friend gave me means a better entity got to my baby before this evil thing had a chance. Oh, by the way, my baby was a boy, hence the entity saying him. When I was spoke and my friend got a message at the same time by the supernatural. We eventually moved, but this move was no better. I'll have the next one ready for you guys. And this email is by her as well, and it's titled The Haunted House 2. So this is when she moved to the second house. And it goes like this. We moved into a house in 2017. It was my childhood house that we bought for my grandpa. It was made in the 1920s. I did do research on the house and have some documents. One person I do know that died in the house, she was an older lady and she died of a heart attack in the 2000s. It's located in Middletown, Ohio, between Ingalls Corner and the Excello. There's a lot of dark history to this house from the time my dad bought it. When we moved into it, we decided we would brighten it up by making the house and renovating it, but it did not work. From the first time we walked through the door, my toddler at the time, Brenna, looked at me and pointed in the dining room and said, "Do you see that, Grandma? She says hi." Throughout the time we lived there, she would stop whatever she was doing and all of a sudden just wave in thin air and say, "Hi, Grandma." As time went on, we noticed some weird things like change flying off the counters and tables that would hit us. One time, I recall one of my kids' helmets just started spinning and flew right off the table, right at me, in front of me, as I was walking through the dining room. I just laughed it off because I was just so used to it at that point. We would have visitors and they would be freaked out about how dark spiritually the house was. We moved our friend in the house when she became homeless. We built her own room inside of the basement. She would recall something scratching at her walls all night long. She said she had to play her TV so loud just so she could sleep. She also kept a protection boot lit at all times. She also once kept a camping porta potty in her room just so she wouldn't have to leave her room at night to go to the bathroom. That's how freaked out she was. My husband, me, my older daughter, and my friend have been pushed down the basement stairs and also shoved up them numerous times. Eventually, Brenna wanted to sleep in her room. She said that this boy keeps standing beside her bed. I asked her to explain the features of this boy. The way she described it was he was about 7 or 8 years old. He had dark hair a little past his ears. He had blood on his face, hair, feet, and hands, but the blood would drip from his hands and his feet to the floor. Slowly, more activity was happening with this boy. He would be around her when she was playing or eating or taking a bath or any activity she was doing. When we were around, she would ask me, "Do I see him yet?" I kept telling her no because I didn't. I asked her if she felt safe around him, and she said she wasn't sure. She said he was looking for his sister. My oldest daughter, Camry, said she witnessed a black figure with a gray veil over it from head to toe, standing at the end of her bed twice. But after the second time, she didn't give it any attention and went back to sleep because she pretended it was just a dream. It had no face, just a human body shape in black. Me and my friend noticed that there was an orb that would float in the backyard at the same time every night at 10 p.m. to be exact. We would go out to the back porch and sit and wait for it. It never failed. It always showed up. We investigated it one time. As we walked toward it, it just faded and disappeared. From the very first night I moved in, I would have the same reoccurring dream about 2 or 3 times a week. I would wake up and nobody was home, not my kids or my husband. Now, for you guys listening, this gets very graphic. So if you're around some kids, you might want to put some headphones in or watch this when you're alone. So continuing. I went to search for them and finally tracked my husband's phone into an abandoned warehouse. I walked in and someone puts a covering over my head to where I couldn't see. They made me walk with them and then took the covering off once I was inside. My husband was hung from hooks from the ceiling by his back skin, but he was alive. No abuse to his body was seen. Then they brought my girls out. They started sexually abusing my girls. My husband started screaming and I started screaming. They said, "These are the rules. They are just going to brutally rape our children, and if either one of us screamed, they would fillet pieces of our skin off and then return to raping our children. If we pled for them to stop, they would kill the kids. And if we closed our eyes, they would cut off our eyelids and then murder the kids. But if we sat quiet and did what they told us, then we would all go home alive. Then I would wake up and be so scared I would throw up just about every single time." Then here's the weirdest part. I had Brenna taking a bath, and all of a sudden, she stood up and told me, "He is gone." I said, "Who is gone?" She said, "I'm not sure, but Easter told me to tell you." I'm like, "What does Easter look like?" She said, "He has red eyes, yellow teeth, but he's like in a corner in a shadow. That's all I can see." I'm like, "Do you know who was gone?" She thought for a minute. "He lives in a long white house. It's not big, but little and long. And there's lots of dogs." 2 hours later, I got a call saying my brother died from a heroin overdose. He lived in a white trailer home with a bunch of dogs. They found him because the dogs got out and the neighbors followed the dogs back to the brother's house or trailer. When I brought my brother's ashes home, I sat them at the foot of my bed. I had nowhere to store them yet. I went to lay down and all of a sudden, I heard a fast, light crawling sound around my bed, and then my bed shook. I thought it was my cat running and playing with its toys and then jumping on the bed to cuddle. So I sat up halfway to pat the blankets to have the cat come lay beside me. But there was nothing there. I took the ashes to my mom's the following morning. I also found a squirrel tail tucked behind a shelf in the back of the closet. People told me it was supposed to mean protection. My husband and I were constantly fighting in this house to the point we almost got a divorce, and he was drinking constantly, and I was in a deep, dark state of mind. I'm thinking there was some kind of spiritual warfare going on in this house. When we were getting ready to move, something kept telling me, if we move, I will die. I can tell you this, either if it was in my head or something other than that, it all seemed like it was just starting to mush together. One time I was in the basement packing and I felt a hand squeeze the top of my shoulder, not aggressively, but gently and firm. When we finally moved, I had my friend drop off money to my neighbor, and she had one of her friends with her. The girl went absolutely nuts because she felt smothered and like she was being watched. They had to leave the house because the girl was having a panic attack and was hyperventilating. Now, she never visited the house before, and nobody ever told her about the stuff that was happening there. I'm sure there was more I can't think of right now, but these are the stories from the house that come to mind. Now, before we moved in, it was used as a trap house, a prostitution ring, illegal abortions, and up to 40 illegal immigrants living there. When my mom and dad lived there, my dad constantly beat my mom bloody. I witnessed him beating her so badly, she lost her 8-month pregnancy right on the living room floor from him kicking her so hard in the stomach. I also have a strange orb-like picture that we captured as we were moving out. I'll make sure to send that to you as well. So guys, what do you think of how crazy, incredible these experiences that Christina was having? I mean, they were almost terrifying. I can't tell you which one was most scary, the most craziest or the what I would fear the most, because it's all scary, from something sounding like it's crawling around your bed to a black figure on top of you that, looks like nothing but darkness, but all you can see is veins and craters of bright orange lava moving through the arms. And then you're laying in bed and you hear sounds like beside you that scare the crap out of you. I jump at the littlest thing. So obviously, if that was to happen, I would be scared all the time. Definitely leave me your guys' comments and your opinions in the comment section of this video. I want to know which one of these would scare you the most if it happened to you. Now, I want to go ahead and switch over to my subreddit, Supernatural Encounters. And I'm going to pick a story. I'm going to pick this story. This is going to be from Reddit user Nikki Claire 323388. The title is, I heard my ex-boyfriend's voice after he died. A little backstory of my ex-boyfriend. He passed away of complications of a surgery that was supposed to help him, and it didn't. He ended up passing away in his sleep alone. The day I found out he passed away, I was at a doctor's appointment 4 hours away from here where I lived. I didn't find out until I got home, which is weird because I had the sound turned all the way up on my phone, just in case he called me. I got 3 missed calls from him when I checked my phone. When I came home, which is just another weird thing, I never heard my phone go off. I also didn't see any missed calls on the day until I got home. Here's where it might sound a little creepy, but also maybe a little comforting. He came to me and told me he had passed away the night before I heard he passed, and I didn't believe him. So I backtracked to the night before I actually found out he had passed away. It was about 1 a.m., and like I said before, I was going to the doctor the next day. So I texted him good night and told him I loved him, and I told him I would leave my phone sound turned up so in case he needed anything. After that, I watched TV for a little while, and right when I was about to go to bed, I heard his voice in my head. Well, this might sound a little weird, but it was like he took over me for a minute because I started to say the words I heard in my head out loud. Baby girl, I'm not here anymore. I'm so sorry, but I'm all around you now. I'll always be with you. I love you and I'm sorry. Now, this is where it got dark and scary for me. A few weeks later, I wasn't in a good place at all. I had people blaming me for what happened to him. I had others telling me to get past it because it wasn't like I was married to him. I ended up in somewhat of a dark place. Well, one random night, I was in bed watching TV, and I felt this dark, evil presence on the right side of my bed. When I would look, it wasn't there, but I could see it out of the corner of my eye. At the same time, on my left side, I felt something trying to protect me. I heard my ex-boyfriend's voice telling me it's that the present is just there to scare me and to not feed into it. I also heard him say that he's my ex-boyfriend and he is there to protect me. I started watching Paranormal State around that time. They said if you're a dark presence around you that you should be strong and tell it to go away. It took me 4 times to tell it to go away before it finally did go away. I changed my thinking around, eventually stopped blaming myself for his death, and also went to counseling. I can tell you now that I'm in a much better place, and I don't see or feel that dark feeling anymore. The people that blame me for him apologized, and they say that they don't blame me, that they never really did. They said that at the time they just blamed me because they needed someone to blame. We're all better terms now. The sad part is I don't feel or see my ex-boyfriend anymore like I used to. What do you guys think about that story? It's very sad, very, very sad. But to know that, our loved ones are always around us is amazing. So I'm very happy for that. All right, guys, this is our last story for today. And this is going to be from Reddit user sad_back508. And the title is Someone or Something. Judge yourselves. I usually don't share this incident with anyone, maybe because I myself don't believe in it sometimes. So this happened some years ago. I was 14 years old. My father had a transferable job, so we had to move to new places about every 4 to 5 years. I lived with my parents and my older sister. We just got transferred to a new place, and my father got an apartment on rent for us to live in. It was on the ground floor. To give you a perspective of my house, our room was just the entrance of our house, and my parents' room was in the far end of the house. So if we had to go to their room, we had to walk through the whole house till the end. Because of this reason, we had a phone in our room to call our parents if we needed anything. One night, I was studying in my room and I had an exam the next day, and my sister was sleeping beside me. I was sitting near the window in my room. It was probably about 1 a.m. when I heard someone walking outside the window. First, I thought it was just my imagination. Then I heard it again, and I was sure that there was someone. Now, there was a strange sound of something jingling with the steps. I was scared, so I called my father with the phone that was in our room. He didn't pick up. I tried again, but he didn't pick up. I was scared at this point, and as the sound of walking didn't stop. So I just left my sister in the room and I ran to my parents' room and started banging on their door. My father answered and I told him everything. And I asked him, "Why didn't you pick up your phone?" He checked his phone and there wasn't even a single call from him on the phone. He went to my room, but the sound just stopped now. So I ended up sleeping in their room and my father slept in our room that night. The next day, my mother talked to the neighbors and told me that it was their dog walking and the jingling was his collar making that sound. I wasn't convinced. Some weeks later, my parents and my sister were out visiting someone. So I was home alone. I didn't want to stay there alone. So I called one of my friends over till my parents were coming back. I'll call him Mike. So I didn't tell him anything about the night since it was embarrassing for me to tell that to anyone other than my family. We were playing games in my room when both of us felt hungry. We decided to go cook something for us in the kitchen. The kitchen in our house was in between my parents' room and my room, such that when we are facing the kitchen counter, my parents' room would be behind us. We were both talking and making instant noodles for us. You know that feeling when you can feel as if someone is staring at you? I felt it that same way. I turned around to look in that direction of my parents' room, and my heart sank. I saw some completely black figure peeping from my parents' room. I was terrified, and I turned to look at Mike. He saw it too. We both ran out of the house and locked the door behind us. My parents came back, and I told them everything. They obviously didn't believe in me and told me I was hallucinating, but Mike saw it too. I didn't tell them that for some reason. We eventually moved out of that house after a month. Some years later, we were talking about the incident and laughing about how stupid I was. By the time I was convinced that I was just seeing things, and I was laughing too on how childish I was. But my mother kept quiet. I asked her, "What happened? Why are you so quiet?" She replied, "You are all probably old enough to know the real story." I said, "What story?" She explained that the day when she asked the neighbor about the incident, the neighbor said that it was our landlord's first wife, which haunted the house. My mother didn't believe her, but she was convinced when the neighbor told her what exactly happened in that house many years ago. Apparently, the landlord's wife committed suicide in the house by burning herself. My mother made up the story of the dog to not freak us out. And to creep me even more, the incident happened in my parents' room. This explained the calls not reaching their room and completely black figure peeping through their door. It still sends chills down my spine even thinking about this. I still don't believe that sometimes, but what if this is true and I was hallucinating? Well, guys, that was an incredible story, and I know the feeling of what he's talking about because I have seen a black figure in a doorway peeping at me at my dad's house in Middletown, and that scared the crap out of me. I can only imagine how terrified he was because my heart sank when I seen this figure as well. So you guys give me your opinions and comments and leave them in the bottom of this video. Let me know what you think. Have you had any similar experiences to any of these stories today? And if you have, send me a message. I love to have you guys come on and tell your story. You can send your stories to my email at realsne_stories@yahoo.com. That's REALSNE_STORIES@yahoo.com. You can message me on TikTok now. It's under R_SupernaturalEncouners. You can send me your stories to my subreddit, Supernatural Encounters without the T and encounters. You guys, when I do these stories and record these stories, it's all off air. So don't be nervous or scared or afraid that you don't want to come on because you think it's going to be live. And I don't record it live. I record it off air in a private call on Zoom between me and you. And I pre-record it. So we talk first and I go over the show with you. And then when you're ready, I go ahead and I push record and I do the whole setup. So if you guys have any supernatural, paranormal, cryptid, near-death experiences, alien abductions, demonic, angelic, missing 401, or anything strange or unexplained, please send me your stories. Send me your stories in brief summaries. Send me your stories in titles. Just send me them, and I'll love to hear them, listen to them, check them out, and put them on my show. So with that being said, I want to say thank you guys so much for sending me your stories. Thank you so much for always coming on and telling your stories. You guys are amazing. This channel cannot be what it is without you guys here helping me, okay? You guys make this channel what it is. The supernatural encounters are experiences from you guys. So thank you all for so much for helping, for watching, for viewing. Please like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. 75% of the people who watch my channel aren't subscribed. So if you guys can, hit that like button, just go subscribe to my channel, that would be so great because the more, the merrier. And once I hit like 1,000 subscribers, it makes it easier to go live more often. And I'd like to start doing on-calls where people can just call in and tell their stories live. So thank you guys for watching. It's been another episode of Real Supernatural Encounters. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you later.